Yeah. I need a swig of this. Get me going.
No special guests today from either side?
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, didn't.
You don't ask him anymore?
Warren is always welcome to pop along. Well,
I bet you were special friend.
we need a countdown.
100, 99, 98, 97, 96, 95, 94, 93, 92.
Houston, we have run out of oxygen. Okay. Alright,
You never specified.
welcome to book 16 of Sci-Fi on Ice. I'm Steven, you guys are other people, and we're going to talk about a book recommended by Dean. Or recommended is the wrong word, right? Picked. Dean, the book that Dean picked. A Study in Emerald, written by Neil Gaiman, or Gaiman. And it was a book set, maybe a story set in the 19th century with aliens and Afghanistan and Baker Street and a murder. I loved it. What do you guys think? Is that what the story's about, by the way?
Yeah. It's basically a study in Scarlet, but with aliens.
Is that a Doyle reference?
It's the Sherlock Holmes story in which he ripped this off and added aliens too.
I've got some thoughts on that. But yeah, I'm not a Doyle expert, so
I
mean, he's
I just
yeah,
know that story.
fair enough. So I did like it. Yeah. So do you guys? I'll start first. So yeah, this book sort of yeah. So it's we find out at the end that there's references to Sherlock Holmes. It's a Sherlock Holmes type story. There's a twist at the end of the story, and I thought that the twist was fitting. I'm one that's really not for twists. You know, it's usually an unsatisfying feeling when there's a twist to make the story work. And I'm not sure that this twist does make it work, but it makes it quite interesting, and it was okay with me in the end. So,
well, for our listeners, do you want to say what the twist is?
Well, yeah, it's that. So
there are many engaged listeners.
Right. So yeah, the story starts off with a soldier who goes to find rent in London, and he's roomed with a detective type person, and he goes on one of his cases and sees sees the body, and then he's listening to all the reveals or the workings of a detective, and then and then he gets more clues about the mystery. But at the end of the story, it turns out that the killer turns out to be he outdoes the detective, and so he gets away by and also doing the kind of scientific rationale of a detective back on our detective, and so it's quite interesting, that ending, and yeah.
It's not particularly like unique in that Conan Doyle also used that method with Moriarty.
Okay, see, I'm not familiar, so this is where it's new for me. Well, I mean, not twists are not new, or people being outdone is not new, but I guess this is what we're in for in the story, is because there's yeah, okay. So maybe do you want to talk about the Moriarty effect in this story?
Well, not necessarily effect or anything. It's just
Or the technique.
commonly held as Sherlock's archenemy, because he's just as brilliant and cunning and insightful, but he doesn't have the moral kind of obligation to use it for good. He just takes advantage of people and does it for himself. But the other twist is that the fact that the person writing isn't Dr. Watson, even though we're led to believe that he is working with Sherlock, and the selfish, antisocial person that he's rooming with is Sherlock, is what the author kind of leads us to believe. And so we're led to believe that the person writing this is Dr. Watson, when it turns out that the tall one and the limping doctor are actually Dr. Watson and Sherlock, non-respectively.
Yes.
And so that twist, I feel like, yeah, I'm not too keen on the story, because I feel like it's like Pride and Prejudice with zombies. It's like,
right.
Yeah, I see what you did there. You took a study in Scarlet and went, what if there's aliens? So yeah, I'm not so enamored, because I also feel like the twists at the end. Like, I liked the fact that they don't catch the tall one and the limping doctor.
Yeah.
But at the same time, then we're led to believe that it's actually Sherlock and Watson, because they say Dr. Watson's name. And they just happen to be very similar to each other, these two sets of people. And it's just a bit too convenient, a bit too much like, and it was all a dream. So.
Yeah, this is where twists for me, I tend to not, it tends to not really come home for me with like the payoff of the story, because it's sort of like fixing itself at the end, or even if it is slightly interesting, which...
Yeah, I feel like he was trying to be too clever.
Well, so we get some clues about the guy's name, because he gives us the first letters, which I haven't done the research, but is, and I'm trying to guess what, I guess this book was a mesh of two different genres, right? It was sci-fi and whodunit stories, right? Well, what is that genre? Mystery, is it?
Anyway. Well, and a bit of fantasy, I think.
Well, that's sci-fi. Yeah, that's the sci-fi part. But yeah, that's a good point. It's
I just googled Moriarty. His first name is James, so even the initials at the end, it's not like it's Moriarty writing it. Like, so anyway.
What's Moriarty's first name?
Or what was?
Does Moriarty have a first name? Oh, Sigerson.
I just said James.
James. Oh, okay, so it's not Moriarty. Well, I don't know. I'm not a Holmes. I haven't read anything from there. Anyway.
I just googled it.
Okay, cool.
Dean, what did you think?
I enjoyed it. Not like was it last week's one where the story didn't really go anywhere? I mean, it's obviously quite easy to see what was the, I don't want to say the word inspiration, but what the story is kind of loosely based on in terms of characters and premise and whatnot. But yeah, it was entertaining. I mean, by no means is an original piece, but yeah, it was entertaining. It wasn't trying to make some glaring social commentary or anything like that. It was just a nice bit of fiction.
Yeah, it felt like this could have been like an episode on a sitcom,
Much like the study of Scarlet was.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
Multiple times.
Right. But yeah, I'm curious about the purpose of meshing these two genres together, and the effect that the author was going for, to sort of, I don't know, it's like turn our
Well, I mean, if you look at
expectations on
the
its
author,
head. Yeah,
he's done such a varying degree of work. It's not
right.
like he's just a sci-fi author, or he's just a fantasy author, or he's
Mm.
just a what do you want to call it, murder mystery author. He's done so much, just a lot of different stuff.
He's a jack of all trades writer.
Hmm. I mean, whether it's writing television scripts, movie adaptations, uh,
All right. Well, I tell you what I
comic
found
fiction.
interesting in this story was that when because we do science fiction here, so I'm reading this book. Like, okay, I've been given this science fiction book, and it's set in 19th century Victorian England or Albion, which obviously is the old word for England, but I guess they use it as a technique to sort of, well, a plot device to tell us that this is an alternate universe, perhaps, and
Yeah.
that's yeah. Wait a minute, where was I going with that?
Well, I think it was interesting that he decided to change all the royals into aliens,
Yeah, sorry, yeah, that's the old
and
ones.
yeah, and then obviously as they refer to the murderers as what was it called, revisionists or something like that.
Hmm. They want to do away with the old ones and
Yeah,
restore humans into power.
yeah, for us to be in charge of our own destiny or our own left to our own devices.
Yeah, I feel like the author was somewhere else. Like he had that in mind. It didn't come across for me like, oh, as because like, is it David Icke, the guy that believes in the lizard people? You know, I was thinking like, oh, is this some kind of conspiracy thing that we're like playing with, like for fun in this book? Like, yeah, the queen of these alien people that, or and maybe metaphorically they're alien to the idea of being human as like a regular person.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, we mentioned it briefly this morning. Was in this story they're the old one.
Yeah,
In last week's story, they were called the
high ones.
high one. Yeah. It's quite a
See,
coincidence for in terms of reference.
yeah, I would have liked to have known more, but I guess this is the mystery things. You can't reveal everything. Maybe like that's one problem I have with this type of genre is you've got this detective and he knows the answer, but he doesn't tell you. Like as a reader, you don't know what he's really thinking, even though you're there with him, and that's frustrating for me. Like the idea that he says, "Should we go to the theater?" and it's like, okay, but if he said, "Let's go to the theater because I think we might find the guy there," and then here's the reason this is how it's linked, and I go, "Oh, okay, there's a connection there." Without the connection, because then it's like that whole elementary. It was elementary, Watson. It was like, oh, I should have known that the prince was reading this newspaper that had this act in it that had been to his country. It's too laborious to do that kind of legwork as a reader. I don't know
Yeah, I
how.
suppose he could have spent a page or two going into the detail of the well, consultant's actual investigation,
Mm,
going through the brothels and all the other places that they went to before he actually came to the realization of the theater. The path that he tracked the prince through.
okay,
But it
Um,
wouldn't. Sorry.
sorry.
I just say it wouldn't it be have been in keeping with it being from the sidekick's perspective because he's the one authoring the notes. He wasn't joining him on those journeys, and it also would be in keeping with Conan Doyle's style of writing Sherlock. He was a very reclusive, private person, and didn't really include people on his investigations. So if the author was trying to mimic the same style with a similar character, then this is very much in keeping.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I enjoyed it. It was nice that everything wasn't like spelled out for you.
Yeah,
What
it's
did you
my
get?
favorite style of book, after maybe like a documentary kind of biography, because I've read Conan Doyle and I've read all of Christie, so I love these kind of books, which is why I'm not too enthralled with this one, because I'm like, I'd rather just read Conan Doyle. I don't need aliens to make this story more interesting.
What did you guys think about the leech in Afghanistan?
Well, he doesn't really draw much. They don't
I
do
think it
much of describing the monster that came out of the lake underground.
kind of sucks blood from his shoulder. I got the
Yeah,
impression it was a leech type Loch
Yeah,
Ness monster in a cave. I don't know, I
but
felt
they
that
do
yeah,
but they do use leeches and things like that in torture and in medical, for like, procedures. Um, so the
especially
fact
back
that
then.
they would use some sort of creature to inflict pain, I was like, yeah, okay, makes sense. The only thing that, now you bring it up, I find interesting is that the queen with her creepy ass tentacle was able to heal it.
yeah.
That's the only thing I find somewhat interesting.
That's like to show the redeeming qualities of the old ones. And so while Lestrade, our head police inspector, he was like, no, 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 we like our alien overlords. They do stuff like
Yeah.
that.
But it also, it harks back to the belief that the king's touch could heal
Mm.
people from things like leprosy and what have you. Um, the king's evil. So it harks back to that, and the fact that the kings and queens have this special power if they just touch you,
Yes. Yeah, they derive their power from God, so it's very believable. Yeah.
especially before science.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Sherlock Holmes is supposed to be he's supposed to represent like rational science, yeah, science, right? The scientific method, like, this, like the evidence that our consultant, that's what we'll call him, uses in his approach to solving the murder case.
Well, I think it makes sense that, I mean, even in the actual Sherlock Holmes story, Holmes and Moriarty are basically two sides of the same coin. It's just the one obviously doesn't have the morality of the other one. How minor that might be, because I mean Holmes sometimes his pursuit of logic often let him blur lines that
Does
normal people would just.
does Moriarty and Holmes communicate in a way outside of their crime solving or crime making? Because like in this story, the consultant and the killer have this correspondence through the asteroid uh what's it called, the asteroid research
Yeah,
paper.
like before this actual crime.
What? Asteroid?
Oh, it's the thing that
So let's just call it the Moriarty character. He wrote a scientific paper on something about trajectory of
Right.
asteroids.
Yeah. Yeah. They do, but and don't quote me on it or anything because I don't know it that well. But yes, there is, I think, meant to be some sort of relationship there because the one knows more than the other thinks they do.
mm,
And so they're constantly kind of trying to one up each other. And so once they do know about each other, basically once Sherlock knows about Moriarty, that's when, like, the game is afoot.
Okay.
Yeah. Have you seen the BBC Sherlock ones?
Benedict Cumberbatch?
Yeah.
No, I haven't. I mean, I know of it, but I haven't.
Well,
Hey, when I was in when I lived in London, I remember going to Baker Street, and like I was around the area, and then someone pointed out that there's the fictional address of it's real apparently. I mean,
yeah, I've been there.
they make it into a like a touristy kind of place, so it's written in a book, but then in real life they make the Sherlock Holmes place.
Yep.
And it's
You can dress up like him.
cool. I never did it, but I had a waffle outside. There was a little guy making, well, I would say little, but there's a little stand where you could buy waffles. I remember doing that. That was nice.
No. Yeah, I visited when I was at university. Went up to London.
Yeah. I don't remember the
I was
theatre. The theatre's on Baker Street, right? The Theatre Royal.
Sorry, say that again.
The In this story, it says the Theatre Royal is on Baker Street as well, but I don't remember that.
I don't think so. It says it's Drury Lane.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. Drury Lane. Is it nearby?
And I mean, as close as London is to each other,
Right. Yeah.
it's
Okay.
relatively
Okay.
simple to get to it.
Yeah. No, Baker Street is actually quite small, right, in relation to the other roads. Anyway, enough about that. Um. Yeah. I kind of. I know maybe it's just me not enjoying the genre, but the way he describes, the police comes in and then the consultant says he basically alludes to the fact that he knows where the policeman's been by the mud on his shoe. And I don't know, as a reader, that kind of just I won't say it bothers me, but I just think, oh, it's not that interesting. What do you guys?
That's Sherlock.
Yeah, no, it just sounds
That's
like.
what he does.
Yeah, fair enough. I guess it just sounds like one of those, like when you're in, one of those kids at school when they know something just because uh, just because they do, and then when you don't know it, it's like, oh, didn't you know? And it's like, yeah, it's something easy if you know the fact that if you study mud, then you know that kind of stuff. But yeah. All right, you guys find anything else interesting in this story?
Nah, not really. I mean, it was just a bit of fiction.
Hmm.
But yeah, nothing else really.
We happy with the ending? Does it resolve anything? Or is it just a twist to go, uh-huh? The consultant
Yeah,
was outplayed.
I felt it. There was an ending. It wasn't like they just ended up back in the same room. Yeah. I mean, it left itself open for a follow-up, but that's probably the point.
Yeah, there wasn't really much at stake for our characters, wasn't there? It's like, well, they didn't solve the case. Oh well.
No, they solved it. They just didn't catch the guys.
Alright, yeah, yes.
Yeah, we know Sherlock killed him.
For a good
No,
cause.
Watson did.
Dr. Watson.
Oh yeah. But for a good cause.
No, that's argued as well because, right, the Strahd and co. were like, don't even discuss that. They're the outliers, the ones that are,
Hmm.
revolting against the what did you call them? The old ones.
The revision. Oh,
Um,
yeah, yeah, the old ones.
yeah. So no, they're the outliers. They're the ones performing these kind of attacks, what have you. The restorationists. That's them.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, they've got to keep on the move. They've got to keep keep it secret.
But didn't the
So,
idea of I guess the restorationists, wasn't there anything appealing about them sort of restoring the order of human rule over alien rule?
I don't think they gave us enough information as to why that was a good or bad thing. I mean, they did say that the tall one, got Prince Kafka or whatever to
Yeah, yeah.
the room because they had this girl kidnapped from a convent and she'd go mad and he would then literally devour her. But then I didn't know if that was literal or a euphemism because he talks about a red-haired woman of whose former profession there could be little doubt. So it's like this. There's other things where he alludes to things you should know. So it's kind of like, are you saying that he'll devour her as in literally eat her flesh, or devour her as in have sex with her? And so it's kind of like, people do that all the time. That's not evil. It's evil if it's against her will, by all means. But I don't know. There wasn't enough backstory. Like, hate the dude, the prince, yes, granted, but not necessarily the whole royal family. Like, there wasn't enough there for me to think they're good or evil. And maybe the point of having him set that context is this: he was lured for that reason against the queen healing, the the author, whatever, the narrator's shoulder was meant to be a good versus evil kind of thing. But
It,
there's not enough information.
so yeah, I interpreted, and you've got to interpret a lot, I guess, in this story. Was that the prince was going to do both of that type of devouring, and so I don't know. I felt that the royal family was sort of how to say, they did good things, but they're also bad, and so there's definitely an appeal to the interests of the restorationists because they see that bad thing. And one thing I want to say about these the old ones is that it describes like that the madness, and there's like it says something like they see the truth about um our existence. So if you so I imagine that if you were to find out the truth about our existence, that we might go mad, and I'm inclined to believe that. And so apparently, if in this story they do that, I can see why the girl would go mad, and then the prince would do what he did. And so I sort of sympathize with Watson doing his deed, and then he writes the message of revenge on the wall, or Raish, or Rach. Rach. Okay, there we go. Here we go. And yeah, so I mean, I that part of the story I felt interesting. Yeah. What would happen to you guys if you found out the truth of our existence, our creator, or something like that?
probably nothing.
All right. Be like, sweet.
It depends on what it is. If it's utterly pointless, then yeah. I mean, it always was and always has been relatively pointless. Probably carry on. If it's for something else, then it's like, oh, that changes things. Maybe I do have a purpose. I assume we're all on here, just killing time, like every other animal is.
So to bring up the reference of sitcoms, what if Earth is like a sitcom that other alien planets like watch for entertainment?
Then I'd say it's probably a pretty entertaining show.
Yeah? Well, there we go.
I mean, it's like the Truman Show. While you're ignorant of it, you're in bliss, right? Happy as can be. It's only until you are aware of the reality, that then you become angered and unhappy.
Or you go mad. Maybe.
Yes, or go mad. Yeah.
Alright, anything else from the story we want to talk about?
Nah, not really.
Alright, on that flat note, let's do some scoring then. Yeah. Okay. I'll bring up the old Excel spreadsheet. Who's going first?
Well, I'm gonna be a Debbie Downer. So I'll go
Ooh.
last if you want.
Alright,
I'll go first.
Alright, Dean. What do?
Okay, out of a grand total of 500 points, I'm going to give this week a 285.
285.
Yeah.
Alright, let me type that in and let me bring up Dean's score. 285. Alright. It's like
Yeah.
a 5.5 out of 10. It's not
Yeah,
bad.
not crap, not great, but
Not
but yeah,
great.
solid fiction. Something to
Yeah,
pass the time.
for me, I found like the author took me to that world, this alternative universe. I had to fill the gaps a lot of the times in regards to the aliens. Like, at first with the murder scene, I just thought it was a person, and then you get told later about the old ones and about them being an alien race, and so
You
it
didn't pick it up when they had multiple limbs,
yeah
like 6 limbs and 2 faces, and green blood.
yeah. Well, before that it was just yeah, and so yeah I found it interesting, just like, well, maybe not redeeming, but just how divergent all the what do you call it, the I don't know, from Afghanistan to aliens to Baker Street. It was quite a trip. So I'm gonna give this score 257.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I don't see the point in having read this, because to me it's just Conan Doyle and A Study in Scarlet with, oh, let's make them an alien. And then at the end, he decides that, oh, it's not actually Dr. Watson writing. I'll have the criminals be them. Hoo hoo hoo, aren't I so clever? Like, I just felt like, why did I read this? I feel like I've wasted my time. Because I think it was quite lazy, to be honest.
You're gonna give a negative score?
No, I'm going to give it a flat 100.
100.
1 out of 5.
It's like a 2 out of 10.
I debated going to 50, so it's 1 out of 10, but I thought, no. Okay. Yeah, he tried.
Yeah, there's some interesting parts of the story, even if you didn't like it. I think.
I just don't. I just
yeah.
see Conan Doyle. I see Sherlock, and even with Moriarty, with Lestrade, which is its actual name in the
Is
books.
it?
The inspector is called Lestrade. Like, I just think it was lazy, because it was like, and considering this dude is a famous author, it's like, oh, he's just cashed in on this, because it's got his name on it.
Right.
It's gonna sell.
That's interesting, because I didn't know about the Lestrade thing, and I mean I definitely drew immediately, well, after the Afghanistan bit, that this story was a detective story. I definitely knew that, and then of course Sherlock Holmes comes to mind. But then I guess if I had known about Lestrade, then I would have immediately thought, okay, this is what we're dealing with. So I didn't work that out until much later in the book, that there were references to Holmes.
Almost that first paragraph, that first column,
Yeah.
I thought, this is Sherlock and Watson. This
Yeah.
is like, what am I reading? Did you give me the right story? Like, I genuinely thought you'd given me the wrong story.
I thought that too, actually. But I mean, the science fiction did came in later.
But
But
I feel like it was arbitrary. It was like Pride and Prejudice and zombies. It was like, oh, what can I add to make it weird and cool? I'll put an alien in it. Yeah, Victoria's an alien. Because, you know, the lizard people, as you said, not an uncommon theory. So yeah, no, not a fan of this one this week.
there we go. So on that positive note, let's go to our score average. Thanks, guys, for talking to us about A Study in Emerald by Neil Gaiman. And let's have some upbeat trumpets. Your score is 214.
Not bad.
Not bad at all. Let's go to the table. Let's see the damage.
I should have gone lower.
It's interesting. I mean, I don't know about Dean. I mean, are you familiar with Doyle? I know who Doyle is, but I just haven't read him.
I have read one or two.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Sherlock. I don't know.
You don't even need to read them. You just need to watch any of the incarnations on telly. All his stories are out there.
I just switch off when I see those. It's just not my cup of tea.
See, it's probably my favorite genre.
Yeah.
I love Christie. I've read her since I was a kid.
Mm.
So Conan Doyle is an extension because Christie wrote Poirot to be the antithesis of Holmes, and purposefully, because Holmes was this, rash, very elusive kind of wild child of detective work, while Poirot is very fastidious and controlling, very calm. So she wrote him purposefully the opposite of Holmes. And I love all those murder mystery things.
It must be because I'm just anti-science, so I'm not really appealing to that genre.
It's not science.
Well, the
It's
rationale.
detective work.
Yes, well, there's like a rationale thing, like, that mud, that geological thing on your foot is from that place.
Most of it is actually guesswork. It's abductive reasoning.
There we go.
It's just guesswork.
Well, I tell you what, it finished second last. It wasn't worth an exhalation, and that was a bad story. So 214 was our average score, and our lowest score is 157 exhalation. So, yay. So, alright, next week, Sarah's gonna, well, we're gonna read Sarah's book this week.
Story.
Story. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I've got one I read this afternoon that
Yeah?
I could do. But then I also found another one, and one of them's written in 1962, one of them's from 2011. So I thought, depending on how long the other one is, because I only read the first part, they seem to have similar themes. So I thought it might be interesting to read the two and do a comparison, because they're both about women and like image and who they identify as.
Yeah? Should we do that?
Because also I feel like if I bring about a story about women and like their introspection and how they identify, I feel like you two might not have much to talk about.
Can we do both books and talk about both and compare them against each other?
Yeah, that's what I was saying first. So that's what I was thinking. Depending if the second one isn't too long. The first one's not long at all. I read it this afternoon.
Right.
Amongst other things. So.
I'm keen.
Gives a bit more. And plus it also will bump up the female author quota.
Yeah, we need it. We've got, how many have we got? We've got
I've read.
I think two.
that only a mother, and
I think there was
what?
that the one, the genderless, the first
Well,
one I recommended.
the shape of my name.
Yeah.
So we can call that one a female, maybe
No.
genderless.
It's them. They are them. And my other recommendation was Mark Haddon.
It's a man.
Yeah.
That's okay.
No, it's not.
We don't hate men.
No, neither do I.
Me too.
I'm just sick of them being everywhere.
Uh,
Everywhere you look, oh, there's a man.
yeah, I cry every night. That's how I get to sleep. I cry. No. Joe Biden is president again.
Yeah, you just look in the mirror and there's a man. Oh, God.
If only I could change that. If only there was a way. Oh, but alas, there isn't.
Get rid of your mirrors.
Yeah. I just use my imagination. And I could just tell everyone that I'm a. What could I just tell everyone that I identify as a? What are those animals that are neither gender? Not octopus. I forget.
No, they are male and female octopus.
Are they? No.
Hermaphrodite.
Yeah, which ones are the ones that are both?
I think they're, well, either hermaphrodite. Oh my God, I can't say that. Hermaphrodites or
Yeah.
asexual.
Octopus, are they? Well, I identify as an octopus. That'll make everyone feel better.
You're still a man, buddy.
But I identify as one, so it's legit.
But biologically, you're still a man.
But it's gonna make myself feel better.
Okay.
Well, all right. What are the
Are you
names
gonna
of
shave
the?
so that you look like an octopus?
It's slippery skin. I don't know. It's a bit. Yeah.
I would say get rid of the mirrors and just ask Jamie how you look.
There we go.
Get her feedback.
She'll say I look like Daddy.
Yep. Done.
Which is now going to mean octopus.
Yay. What was the name of the first one? We'll get cracking on that.
I don't remember.
Okay.
I did other things.
Okay, we'll find out later. And
A new you or the new you, something like that.
yeah. Are they both female? They're both female writers, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
I'll send them both to you. I got them saved.
All right, cool. We'll look forward to it and see you guys next week. No, I'll see you guys tomorrow.
See you next time.
All right, see you guys.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.